All right. Welcome to my 9 p.m. So I'm sure you're having great time today being Friday. Let's wrap up this entire week. This Monday, I started the series on handling failure, inspired by the book Failing Forward, one of my favorite book by John C. Maxwell. And in that book, there are a lot of amazing chapters which I was inspired by, and I personally implemented it in my life. And that's why this entire week I covered. And I'll just recap few things, and I'll end up with one story of a person which I was impressed by, and he's an amazing person. And the story which I read in that book, I'll narrate that story and drive home 3 points which you can take today in your life. All right. So let me recap, and then I'll talk for some of you if you're live right now, available live. Let us talk for some time. You can say hello to me, whichever place you are logging in from. So let's talk for some time before we get into our topic of discussion today. All right. So let's first and foremost, the way we understand failure, the way our perception is about failure will decide that how much forward can we move in our life. Now, how do we define that? In a very simple way, there are 7 things which people have the myth about failure. The first and foremost is people think failure is avoidable, which is not, and that is the major cause of misery in people's life. There's something which you believe is avoidable and it is not avoidable. What will happen? There'll be a lot of frustration inside your life, and that's the first myth people carry. Because of that, they're not able to fail forward. Second reason and second myth is people think failure is an event, which is not. Failure is a process. That's also I covered in this week, so you should go through them. And failure is not objective, rather it is subjective. It depends upon many parameters, so you can be relaxed based on your situation. You can decide your failure. That's what we covered on Monday. And then I said failure is irreversible. That is the biggest assumption people have. They think failure is irreversible, whereas as a matter of fact, failure can always be reversed. If you failed in past, you can work hard on it and eventually pay off the debt and move on in life. That's what exactly it means. And failure is not a stigma. A lot of people think failure is a stigma, so they're really frustrated with it, so they really take it as a curse. And actually, it is not. It is a stepping stone in your life if you can accept it and take message from it and grow in your life. Then finally, failure is not final because there's nothing in the final. If you quit, then only it is final. Otherwise, there is no. Then I said failure. What are the 7 attributes which a person who goes and achieves success? I gave 7 attributes in my Tuesday session, which I gave that achievers reject rejections. They don't care about it because everybody get rejections and they somehow don't bother about it. They just reject it. And that's how they grow. Then I said achievers see failure as temporary. They know it is temporary phase. And just like there are night and day, failure and success will go hands in hand. So if you're in a failure phase of your life, don't worry about it. Have patience, take some course correction. Eventually, you'll become successful, and that time it will become an inspirational story for others to observe, isn't it? And then failure is not a, is actually an isolated incident. The people who achieve great things, they understand that failure is an isolated incident. If you fail in something, doesn't mean that eventually you're a failure in life. That's what the biggest error people do. They start assuming that they're failure in life, which is not true. So it's an isolated incident. And then achievers keep expectations realistic. And in that, I gave an example that, right, whatever you are planning, it will take you more time, it will take you more money, it will take everything more. Today's example I'll give you. We went for lunch and I thought we'll be back by 1 hour. But by the time we reached back, it was 2.5 hours. It took us double time than what we expected. Everything what you do, you should have a realistic expectation, because whatever you plan, it will take more time, it will take more energy, it will take more money. That is for sure. And then achievers vary the approaches, because if you fail sometime, you have to take some feedback, change your approach, and then go ahead and perform again. And finally, achievers bounce back. That's what we covered. And then I gave a failing loop, a 6-step failing loop. If you remember, I gave it with the story of Langley and Manley, the person who thought of innovating airplane, and they gave up at the last stage of their juncture where they put all the effort, and just because they could not understand the meaning, or they didn't have that positive association which could have encouraged them to grow. And that's where I covered. And if you're not aware of it, if you're not part of my mailing list, by the way, you can, in that message, you'll see there is an email, my downloadable book. You can download it, and I can subscribe you to my email list as well. So that way you can get regular email subscriptions. So I've recently published 2 of my images in which I gave this graphical illustration of this fear cycle. and how this failure cycle works. So if you have not got it, let me know. I'll send you those images. It can help you. You can stick it in your somewhere and you can observe the cycle, and the cycle can save you a lot of effort. So what I covered was that anytime you start something, you have to start. And yesterday what I said was that you will start, then you will fail for sure. The moment you fail, fear will come and you will exaggerate those impossibilities. Once you exaggerate those impossibilities, doubts and dilemmas start coming in your life. Once doubts and dilemma comes, your brain start looking for evidence. And your brain has an amazing power. It can look for evidence to prove you right. That is for sure. So if you are believing that these things will not work, your brain will look for evidence to prove that it will not work. If you believe it has to work, then your brain will start looking for those positive outcomes, how it can be possible. So it's all up to you. Your brain creates everything in your mind. That is for sure. And based on that, you will be either a confirmed failure or you'll be a confirmed success. So that's what we covered on Wednesday. And yesterday I covered basically again a 7-step algorithm of coming out of this failure loop. So if you're stuck in this failure loop, how you come out of it, I covered on Thursday. Now let's see if somebody is there online. I can talk to some of you. Prabhat is there. Hi Prabhat, how are you doing? So nice to see you. You are quite consistent. And if anybody else comes up, I'll talk to you again. So, and yesterday I covered that the way people go through this failure cycle is first they will mess up, and after messing up, they will get angry. Rather than accepting it, they will get anger, and after anger, they will get embarrassed because now they realize, shit, man, this is really wrong. They'll get into embarrassed state, and after embarrassment, they will go to prove their error as right. They will try to get into defensive mode. They will do a lot of things. They will prove their right. Ego will come in between, and finally, all these things they realize that nothing will work out, and they will eventually quit. But the solution is not in quitting. Solution is actually waking up and start working on it. And that's what we covered yesterday. And I ended you with Portia Nelson's autobiography of life in 5 simple chapters. And today what I'll take you through is a very simple step. I'll take you that failure is an inside job. Nothing is external. And in the book Failing Forward, I read a very interesting story. It's a story about Greg Horn. So the story goes like this. Greg Horn went to attend John Maxwell conference on, if I talk about the spring of March 1997, Greg Horn went to attend a John Maxwell conference in city of Louisiana. And he went to attend, and after attending, he was supposed to go after 2 days event. So while going, so he was having a connecting flight to Lexington, and he was surprised there's a delay, and he could not get his flight. Okay, and the flight was literally cancelled, and he was stuck at the St. Louis airport for a whole night. And then later on, next morning, he got a flight and he reached to Lexington. After reaching to Lexington, what he finds is he can see that there was tremendous heavy rain has come. And because of that rain, that leaking river, which was flowing near to Cynthiana, it started coming and it flooded his. So he was actually running a grocery store, which was that grocery Payless Food Center. It was his grocery store, which was located, and it was filled with the whole flood. By the time he reached to the place, he sees that the only building is there, entire building is submerged into water. Only that top is the banner is there, which can show that okay, Payless Center, Food Center. And what would a normal person do? You came out after 2 days of leadership conference, and you come and you see that the entire store is merged into water. What are you going to do? So he tried to get into it, but he could not. The only option, and he could not even reach his home. He has to stay with his sister in Lexington for 2 days. And then after 2 to 3 days, he goes to the place and he start emptying it. What he sees there is so horrifying. He sees that entire groceries gone, refrigerator, everything. I mean, if you see, nothing is left. Only building wall is left. So what he do after cleaning everything, it took him literally 5 days to clean that store, to just remove everything and clean it up. Now he had a choice. Shall he get stuck? Shall he crib? Shall he do something, or shall he apply certain lesson? So he thought like this. When anyway I failed, so let me learn some lesson. Let me apply what I learned in that leadership conference I learned for 2 days. Let me apply it. He took a decision that rather than cribbing, because anyway it is not in his control, whatever has happened is happened. Let me open the store again. And in 21 days, it's a record time. In 21 days, he opens up the store again with a loss of $1 million, which is a big, big amount. Now, $1 million goes away. So can you imagine somebody opens up and none of his fault? He just starts it up. So then people interviewed what was the reason. Then Greg has a vision. Understand, anybody who can take this sort of loss in their life personally, they need to see something beyond grocery. It was not just the work. And I was impressed by the answer which he was giving. He said, it was not about the grocery store. It was about a mission. If I open the store in the next 15 days to 20 days, What I am doing is I am giving employment to 80 people who are stuck in the similar place. He was having a vision beyond his money. He was seeing something beyond. And you know what he says that before opening this store, he was working in the Hustler's chocolate, which was creating a turnover of $1.2 million every year. So he was having great life. So he saw the purpose of opening the store beyond making the money, and that what keeps people in the loop. I mean, if you want to succeed, trust me, there has to be a meaning beyond his work. Relating to this story, because I read this story long time back, I purchased this book, I think some in 2010 around. I purchased this book, and that point in time it was in my mind for a long time, so I thought this time I'll cover a series on this failing. So I have faced a similar situation in my business. So I invested the way I was into direct sales for almost 8 years, and I invested a lot of time with people. You have to invest time with people. It's a voluntary organization, so you have to invest your time on people. So I have built multiple organizations, more than 10, 15 organizations I have built. I have built organizations and I have invested my time on people. And then wherever human beings are there, they have their own freedom. And after building an organization for almost 2 to 3 years, which came to a profit level, suddenly that organization vanishes. And the entire almost 30, 40 people team, is you think like this is one of my startup. So one of my startup of 30 to 40 people is now literally gone. What do you do now? You get frustrated, you start cribbing, you do whatever you want to do. Some is because of your error, and some of them are not because of your error, it is just happening. So a lot of thoughts came in my mind. Shall I quit on it? Is it worth doing it? Shall I invest my time on people anymore? Or I should let go people? Or just I should focus on my job and just grow in my career? I got a bigger meaning. I started understanding what am I doing. My it's not only business, it's not only money. Deep within, I am passionate about impacting people's life. I am passionate about adding value to people. That's why my coaching business started. Where I realized it is way beyond money. It is way beyond business. It is about adding value, impacting people. So when I get into coaching program and I help people to bring out the best in them and able to remove the mental blocks. When I do my workshop on communication skill and somebody's communication skill helps them to have happy marriage, or somebody gets a corporate career growth, it gives me satisfaction beyond money. Money is there, no doubt in it. But beyond money, that satisfaction that somebody's life has become better because you're involved, that mission gave me. And when I was on the verge of quitting this idea, I started investing time. And you won't believe, right after the loss of that organization, I got one more organization, and that grew. That organization started becoming profitable in less than 1 year. So on one side, there was a massive loss, and that loss kept me frustrated for almost 3 to 4 months. And if I would have stuck with that loss in my life, I would have given up on my dream. And right now, I would have been working in a company as an employee. No harm in it. There's no harm in doing a job. But idea is, just because you could not handle the stress of reality, I think that is where most of people fail. So today I'll give you three simple points that how do you handle this sort of situation which are not in your control. I mean, things that are in your control you can do anyways. The first thing what I found is positive attitude. Now, positive attitude is like a lot of people have toxicity of positivity. That is also not going to help you. In this, what I understood was that two things I have to know. First, things which are happening to me, are they fact or are they in my control? Let's take an example. I was working in this organization, and people in that organization quit and they joined some another company. Let's take an example. I'm running a startup. I've invested my time on 2, 3 people, and all of a sudden, these people go and join some another organization. Is it in my control? I can think upon it. If people are people, they have their own freedom. If this is not in my control, what should I do? It's okay. It is a fact of life. They're moving on. Human being has to move on. They might find a better growth opportunities. I mean, why not? People have freedom. If they find a greater growth opportunities, I should give them good luck and good wishes and let them move on. That's how life should be. If I can do that, then what will happen? I'll tell you. Eventually, I can grow. I can find more people who are like-minded, who will have frequency matching with me, where we both can enjoy working together. This is one perspective. Another perspective is you try to change the situation, things which are not in your control, and if you try to change, what will happen? It will take away massive energy from you. This is the first thing I learned in my life. Anytime now, so you can do the same exercise this weekend. Today is Friday. So what you do is just take a sheet of paper and write down all the problems you're facing right now. Okay, there's a problem in my marriage. Write down. There's a problem in my career. When I say problem, what does it mean? Okay, my manager and me are not having good relationship. I am struggling with my client. I am struggling with this. Whatever is your struggle, write it down on the left-hand side of a paper. Okay, and in the right-hand side, so make a column. In the right-hand side of the column, for each problem which you defined, write down Is it in my control? First thing first. If answer come yes, it is in my control, then immediately write down what action can I take to solve this problem. Very simple. So in left hand side, write down all the problems you are facing. And after writing down this problem, in the right hand side column, you write down a very simple step that is it in my control? You will see 80% of your problems might have answered that it is not in my control. Why? Because changing somebody's behavior is not in my control. I can change my behavior. I can move on in my life. That is in my control. If I realize, okay, it is perception. Many times you may have to change your perception. Let's say you're struggling in your marriage right now. Probably either you have messed up in past to an extent that it cannot be recovered now. If that is the case, move on. Why to waste so much of time? Why to have so much of negativity? Move on in life with happiness, no more bitterness. Who move on? If there is a possibility, sit and talk. If you're not able to talk, invest some money on your personal growth. Go through effective communication skill workshops. Anyway, I conduct, and in this August, my new batch of effective communication skill workshop is starting. Go through it. Do your career impact assessment. Know your personality. Understand personality of others, because communication related errors can be resolved because that is in my control. Attitude of other. Let's say somebody is negative, assuming you got married, the person with whom you're married, they're already having a negative perception towards marriage. Can you control that? No. It's your bad luck. You can say bad luck, good luck, or your karma, whatever is coming, then move on. That's the only option left. You're in a wrong company. You realize your manager is not able to do it. He's somehow frustrated with his past and he's trying to take out his grudges on you. You have always the freedom to change your company. Why to get into this grudges mode and negative energy? Do something. So, first rule of life is write down all your problems which you're facing, and then in the right hand side, write down, is it in my control? If answer is coming yes, then immediately in the third column, write down what step can I take, what action step can I take to control this. If you do that, what happens? This is what I meant by optimism. Second thing you have to do is don't contain your emotions. What I mean say emotions means a lot of people have emotional baggages. Disconnect your emotional baggages. What it means is it is impossible that you grow up without some negative episodes in your life. It is impossible. All of us will go through some negative episodes, no matter what we do. Now, it is our choice. Do we keep those episodes in our mind, or do we move on from there? The second thing you can do is remove those negative emotions, disconnect. So, how do you do that? Again, the same formula. Write down all those emotions which is disturbing you. Let's say somebody said wrong things to you while growing up. You had some negative episodes in your life. Some wrong people tortured you emotionally or mentally or whatsoever. Whatever has happened, it is gone. Then what you can do is write down and then see, is this emotional poison helping you to grow? And I just heard this story. It's an amazing story. There are two dogs who was into two different cities. So one dog was into a ashram sort of place where he was near a temple, and another dog was staying into a street which was having a lot of good food items. So the dog which was staying in an ashram, he was getting food which was he was getting some throwaway food, like somebody said chapat, because in ashram you don't get very fancy food, you get very simple food. So that dog was surviving. Another dog who was staying in a prime uh, resort area where a lot of footpaths, food stalls were there. So he was getting a lot of good food to eat. So one day these two dogs meet and he says, "Man, why are you wasting your time here in this ashram? It is you are not getting any good food. Come with me. We'll go together." But problem was from that ashram to the place where they were going, it was around 45 kilometers. So they make a strategy. Okay, we have to go together, and this 45-kilometer we can travel 6 kilometer per day. Around 4 to 5 days we can match out, and someday we can go 10 kilometer also. So they make a strategy, and they started walking. And while walking, eventually one night comes, and they start off going to one society to stay in the night, and then again after resting they'll go in the morning. So while resting in that society, dogs always have the territory. So if a new dog comes up, they start barking and they start shouting and they start doing all these things. So another dog was very intelligent. He said, "Okay, let's not waste our time. Let's keep walking." Then after walking for morning, they again tried to get into some another street. Same problem happened. So while walking, they were able to complete this whole task in 1.5 day, which they were planned for more than 9 days. Moral of the story: things which are happening negative around you, If you get stuck with them, you may have to lose your goals. Choice is in your hand. Do you want to get stuck with them, argue with them, fight with them, or you continue with your mission? Easy to say, very difficult to do. And that is the only way you can have a happy marriage. You keep fighting, you keep trying to prove anybody wrong. Another option is write down one day things which is not in my control. Let the other person be what they are. Why to try to change their behavior? Let me work around it and let me be happy. That's the only option left. Same thing with my manager. Why to try to change my manager? My manager cannot be changed. He is not in my control. Why don't I find a workaround? Let me better understand his personality and deliver him what he wants. Why to argue with him? Same thing you can do with your customer. You try to change your customer, forget it, you are out of the business. So don't try to change your customer. Find out what he needs and give it to him. The second point is do not have emotional baggages. Third thing, evaluate your current situation and see, are you exaggerating or is it a reality? This is very, very important. Third point which I'm trying to say right now is evaluate your present situation. In your present situation, do you see, is it a reality or is it exaggerated in your mind? And what I mean to say is question your assumptions. Many a times we are assuming a lot of negativity which may not even exist in our life. And those assumptions create problems. So see, are you in the assumption phase? And trust on me, if you really see your situation right now and evaluate it properly, you will see probably 70 to 80% things we are exaggerating. It's our exaggerated fears in our mind. And those exaggerated fear creates a lot of problem. So this is the third point which I covered. And then the last and most important point is be positive, take positive action. The last point which I want to cover today is take positive action. When I say positive action, thinking and all are very good. Now I may have given you action right now to do. If you do not go and apply it right now, they will just be theory for you. If you can do these 5 things, you can learn a lot of things. So let me wrap it up what I said. So this entire week we have covered the failure series. So some of you requested to keep this video for a few more days. So I'll keep it till Wednesday. So till Wednesday, make sure that you complete them. From Wednesday, this failure series will be out of the self. So go through it and learn from it. This will be good enough for you to handle failures. And tomorrow, if you want to attend my live session, which is part of AYP program, I'll be doing my live session where we'll do a mentoring call. It will be on Zoom. So if you want to join there, let me know. We'll be covering a few more things in that session tomorrow. It was great talking to all of you. If you are live right now, why don't you say hello and we can talk for some time. If you like something which I said today, we can discuss more. And before I check out from today, it was great talking to all of you. If you have any questions, you can drop down in your comment part. If you want to know something beyond, let me know. And if you want to subscribe to my email list, you can subscribe by downloading that book. I can add you in my email list. It was great talking to all of you. Thank you so much.